record to the cloud. And secondly, this is in a panel, right? And so this will be mostly discussion. I have just like 4 or 5 slides to set it up here, but this will be just a discussion, and it's going to discussion with 3 amazing people. These are some of my favorite people ever, and certainly my favorite DMBAs ever. And yeah, for sure. And then we'll try to make some time at the end for you all to ask questions too. And at the same time, if anyone here in this Zoom has a question you want to ask that while one of our panelists is talking, by all means, jump in and ask the question. We can do that too. So I want to kick it off by saying, first of all, my name is Justin Lokitz. I am also a DMBA alum and now the chair of the DMBA program and also a professor in the DMBA program. So I'm kind of all those things. It is a community that I love, which is the only reason I'm still here. It's really just because I love it so much. So I'm going to now kick it off with some quick slides, and you'll notice that people will probably join as we go, which is pretty normal. And I'll just let them in as they need. All right, hold on 1 second. I see a few people that I also know there. All right, so quick intro to what we're going to do today and a little bit about the DMBA. And you can see this is the title of this, right? Some welcome setting the stage, which we just did. What's the DMBA anyways? Very quick. And then really an alumni panel with sort of real stories, the moves that they've made, and everything else in between. So what is the DMBA? Well, DMBA it's an MBA program, but it's called the Design MBA for a reason, right? We think of this as a place where you master the art of innovation, you master the art of strategy, but you also sort of master the art of you. It's art, it's science, it's picking up a sketchbook and a spreadsheet all at once. I like to think of the DMBA as, I hear Justin Paul, I think, said it well, like a practical way to come in and bridge this world between creative and business and speak these languages. But more often, and I think really this is the crux of this panel today, is most people, and this certainly includes me, I wanted to design my next life, my next career, whatever that is, and irrespective of where you are in life, this is the kind of thing that pops up. You've come out of undergrad and you're not sure what you want to do, or you now are working for a while and you're still not sure if that's the thing, or you've worked for a long time like I did, and you're ready sort of for your next career. And then, here we are. And so it is a place that we do a lot of this. We think of in the DMBA as everything is a prototype. And that includes you and your career. And so it's a safe place to test and fail and keep creating and co-creating until you find the right path. And often the right path is the one you're going to take. So without saying a lot more about the DMBA, because we're just going to talk about it here, I want to introduce these fine, amazing folks. Jaclyn Dad, in fact, I think just this week, sorry, Jaclyn, I hope not to make you blush, but was just promoted to group manager of the AI products of Firefly at Adobe. And Jaclyn is I think we said C8. So this is the 8th cohort of the DMBA. She's fantastic and has a really cool career under her at Adobe and other places. And I'm excited to hear what she has to say. Say hi, Jaclyn.
Hello, everyone.
There you go. Hi, Jack. Joe Marini. Joe is the co-founder and CEO of Mothership Materials and also a DMBA professor. So also just a crazy pre-DMBA career, doing all kinds of things. And then in many respects, and I'm now just paraphrasing what I know of you, Joe, found herself and found her path, which she is now on in a big way. via the DMBA. And we just actually had this talk just a couple weeks ago at SF Design Week. So say hi, Joe.
Hello, everybody.
And Joe is also our professor of our capstone course in the DMBA, which is our Venture Studio course, which is quite amazing. And then find not quite amazing that Joe's teaching it, but it's a quite amazing course, and Joe is quite amazing too. So there you go. And it makes sense that Joe's teaching it. Finally, Franzi Sessler, also a great friend and a C7, so the 7th cohort, and she is a creative badass in every respect. Anytime anyone, and certainly other DMBAs, are looking for some creative vibes and juice, they go to Franzi. Franzi is in Germany, so she's in Munich, and in fact, perhaps Joe, you'll talk about it, or Franzi, you'll talk about it. In fact, you're working together too, across cohorts, across continents. Franzi is the co-founder and the creative badass behind Creatives.co. And this is just also a kick-ass creative agency based in Munich. And so I'm sure you will talk about that too. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. Franzi, say hi so we can hear you.
Hello, nice to
All
meet you
right.
all.
Likewise. Well, I already know you. I've known you for a long time. Okay, so why don't we go this? I'm going to just start with a question. I'm going to kick right in. I'll go in order for now, and we'll start with Jaclyn. So Jaclyn, maybe you can even tell us a little bit about what you do today at Adobe, but really, I'm interested in understanding what you were doing even before, what were you doing before the DMBA, and what brought you to the DMBA in the first place?
Yeah, it's really interesting when you think about what I do today, leading our Firefly custom models, which allow you to train Firefly with your own assets, create on-brand content. But before all of that, before the DMBA, I was an architect designing buildings. And so I had a career where I was designing multifamily mixed-use buildings in the SF Bay Area, in China, in Russia. And I started thinking about how I could find opportunities to leverage a lot of the skills around like understanding constraints, coordinating different stakeholders, and telling these narratives around the building that we're creating to try and get, client approvals, things like that, into a different space. Buildings take years to build. And I wanted to kind of get some faster cycles under my belt. And so I was looking at programs, and the DMBA caught my eye because I do come from this design foundation. So the design strategy was really interesting, but I also wanted to bring in that kind of business aspect. And I just happened to live in San Francisco, so it was the perfect program for my situation. And I think it's one of the best things I've done for my career.
Amazing. Were you looking at other programs as well, or was this sort of like you were locked in when you found out that this was design and business?
It feels like forever ago, so I'm trying to remember.
Yeah.
I think it was one of a few, but this was the one that would stand out because of I went to one of the in-person kind of meet and greets.
Yeah.
And when I learned about the program, it just really resonated with kind of what I wanted to do and where I wanted to go. And the people really make the program as well.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, which is also why I went to all of you and you were like, yes, I would love to talk.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Jaclyn. How about you? I think we're on to Joe. Same question. What were you doing before the DMBA? And I know there's a long list there too, but what were you doing before the DMBA, and what brought you here?
Yeah. So I came into the DMBA and I had no design background at all. As a matter of fact, my undergrad was from the Air Force Academy. So this is about as much of a departure from any sort of creative field or any sort of design related field or anything that encourages collaboration or free thought, as you can possibly imagine. And I got out and I started a couple ventures. I was living in Colorado Springs, and ended up being moved to San Francisco with the job that I was also doing at the time that I was running these businesses. And I actually had a friend of mine when I was living in Colorado Springs that had told me about this program. I was like, yeah, that's great. Like, never going to happen. And when I got here, I realized something that was pretty profound. And that is that I knew that I had something in me. Like, I've always been an operator. I've always been a builder. Like, I can't help it. That's just how I'm wired. But I didn't have the context. I didn't have the definition. I didn't have the framework. And I was just kind of winging it. And it was kind of working, but it wasn't really working. And so I knew an MBA was up next for me. And so I actually did, I applied to Stanford. I applied to Haas. I applied to this program. And the thing that really stuck out to me here was that the way that this program talked about the future and our future and the things that we should be building or the things that were possible were uncoupled from traditional business school, which is like you go in, you lock into capitalism, and you do the things, you read the case studies. I'm from an immigrant family, right? Like, my parents came here with nothing, and that didn't feel really good to me. And so when I realized that I could have both this really strong business foundation and this a way to apply it to a future that made sense to me, that I wanted to build, the things that I wanted to bring to life, that's when it clicked. So I came in kind of knowing what I wanted to do, but really like kind of took this idea that I had, and over every class, over every course, over every semester, kind of refined it. And when I graduated, I actually launched my first venture right out of the program, which then led me to what I'm doing now, which is Mothership Materials. It's a venture-backed deep tech startup that takes industrial agricultural waste from all over the world, and turns it into feedstocks to power biomanufacturing, right? Which is really wild. Like, I couldn't have made that up in a million years. Like, I didn't know that existed. And so I will say that I went in asking for definition and context and understanding, and I've come out with such this like refined sense of understanding how to strategize and plan and name things and move things to the future. And again, now I'm teaching it, right? I had the opportunity to come back and teach, and it was a no-brainer, because I think like this is probably like, this is the most powerful thing I've ever done for myself, and there's no way I'd be here without it.
Thank you, Joe. A follow-up question, because by the way, I relate to your story, which is I came in not as a designer, as sort of a product guy in a tech company. And I was like in some ways quickly humbled by like design talent, people like Franzi, for instance, or Jaclyn, like quickly humbled, like, oh shit.
Nobody asked me to ever build a deck.
Well, they asked me to build a deck, and then I was like, I can't, no, I shouldn't do that. Look at that one. Oh no.
You got Canva now, Justin.
I got now that was not back then. Look at this white beard. Do you call yourself a designer now?
I do.
Yeah,
I absolutely do. But I'm a designer of ventures. I'm a designer of processes. I actually call if somebody asks, I say I'm a systems designer.
Systems designer.
And I think when we talk about frameworks, like, I think I've always been that, but I didn't understand what that meant. And I see the world in systems. I see the world in interconnectedness. Nothing exists in a silo, right?
Yeah.
And so, I call myself a systems designer.
I see some head nods both from Franzi and Jaclyn too, because I'm guessing the affirmative for you both as well. Like, yeah, we see in systems, kind of like the matrix, and you sort of see through the falling numbers and letters and figures and things. Yeah, good one. Thank you, Joe. Franzi, same question. Now, I know you are very creative and came in very creative, but tell us, what did that journey look like? What were you doing before the DMBA, and then why the DMBA, especially coming from Europe, where there are plenty of other courses and programs?
Yes, happy to share. First, the reason I was nodding is because I believe that is a transformation that a lot of people go through in the DMBA, that they come in not knowing they're designers and afterwards believing they are. And it's true. So every time a previous non-designer says they're a designer, that's a celebration moment. So just wanted to share that. So in my cohort back then, it was a C7. We were 60 people, and we were only 5 people with a proper design background. So classic fine art background. I did graphic design and branding as a focus in my undergrad in Europe. I quickly worked in the advertisement world in Europe and in Germany specifically, and I was hit by reality of being pixel movers and pushed into the corner of designers are there to make things look good.
Yeah.
When we started questioning things, it was no, this is a different department that answers those questions, you know. I felt that there was a huge gap between the capabilities that designers and creatives brought to the table and the reality of what the jobs and the roles actually were. And when I was looking into, okay, I need to upskill myself, I was very young at that time, I was only 23, and needing to figure out and I had a team around me too, what can I do to upskill and learn about strategy, business, to understand what language they're speaking in these other departments, so we can answer those questions ourselves. And when I found classic business degrees and strategy degrees around the world, I was very bored. It felt very old-fashioned and not really answering those big questions that we have for our futures at the moment. And that's the same still today. Back then, there was really not many options in Europe. And by accident, in a magazine, I read about the DMBA. And I was like, yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Designers need to understand business.
Yeah.
So fought my way to the Bay Area. And really was afraid going into the DMBA. I knew I had the D down, but the MBA was a scary part. And now knowing that the reality of DMBA together is actually where the magic happens. So today I run a design studio on a mission to push the world forward. And every project we do, every client we face, there's no project that lives with one without the other. So it's always strategy and design coming together.
Right. Yeah. And by the way, these aren't small projects. You are, and your studio this is an award-winning agency that's done everything from the Special Olympics to really amazing work with insurance companies and everything else, and has won awards along the way. So
And Mothership Material.
And now Mothership Material. I'm going to go a little deeper then, and I'm going to ask a second round of questions here. And I'll start with you, Franzi, because you were just talking. Was there a singular shift in the DMBA? You know, here you came in with the D part, and the MBA part was scary. So maybe I'd love to know a little bit about what was scary about that, but B, in overcoming that fear, was there a singular light bulb moment, or was it more twinkly light, like Christmas light moments along the way? What did that feel like, and what were the moments that you learned, oh, I am not just a D, but also an MBA or strategist?
So I think it was twofold. One, I very quickly realized that as a designer, as a visual thinker, you have a superpower that can help others articulate and make their ideas come to fruition. So that was one, which gave me a lot of confidence at that time, that there is a place. Everybody asked me to build a deck because I knew how to do that, you know.
Yeah.
That is one part. So you really have a magic superpower. Where you feel in the design world you're a commodity potentially. So there's something really special there for you. And then the other part is finance, law, all the classic MBA things, economics, where some were scary, like finance, it's just not my thing. And it's hard to push yourself through that. And it was seen as this big thing that I don't talk about, you know, like I'm not interested in that. Also, capitalism, money things, that's not my thing. But I very much uncovered by prototyping. So speaking of everything as a prototype, you know, that it's actually not a scary thing. And in fact, the key to unlocking everything. So no creative idea can ever work without the spreadsheet next to your sketchbook, you know. So
Right.
When understanding that that is not a process that you know maybe from high school of sorts, you know, that is like terrible and that's the finance people, they're boring, but it's actually a tremendous tool for decision making and strategic decisions moving forward. And the key to any idea, it became way easier and actually fun to work with numbers too.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to press you on that. Was there a singular moment when that popped in your brain, or was it a series of moments, something like that, or maybe, you know, a few moments?
I believe there was one moment where everything came together in my mind, which was every every semester and every class that you take is very practical and very hands-on.
Mm,
And there was one project that we did in operations class where we worked with a restaurant group on helping them. They were growing from 3 restaurants to 5 restaurants in the Bay Area, and they were struggling with sustaining their staff and competing against the big tech companies on salaries, etc. And we were interviewing people in good design MBA manner and figuring out what they love about their job and what they were worried about and the things we could do. So we were system designing things into place that could help. And when
mm,
we actually looked at the numbers, we asked the restaurants for their spreadsheets and their numbers from the last years, you could see how that problem that they were facing was actually showing in their balance sheets because it's their biggest costs to hold the staff. So we actually covered that that was the biggest loss that they're making a year. And if we find ways to reduce that and do sharing models between restaurants, etc., it was an absolute aha moment where it was numbers telling stories and not just lines and rows, you know?
right. I love that. Like, I love that aha pivotal moment, which is exactly, I was hoping you'd go there and you just did it, which is, yeah, these numbers become stories and sort of like, you know, the matrix, you sort of saw through the numbers and then you saw the stories in the numbers and they just became part of the design. Yeah, so a singular moment. Joe, how about you? You know, was there in coming into the DMBA and having some experience, you know, in business building and now coming in and taking on the systems thinking and designer persona as well? Was it a singular moment? Was it a series of moments? Give us some examples.
It's really interesting, I think, for me, because, and I actually see this a lot in the students when they sort of get to Venture Studio, like in the very last semester, is I think in the first year we hear a lot, okay, like they learned all these things, and they worked together, right? So I
Mm,
understood operations and I understood business models and I understood research, right? And I think it's like the first year that you're kind of like getting your, like your understanding, like, okay, like the pins in the map, right? I understand like where I'm at. Um, and then for me, the second year was like when it all kind of like came together, right?
yeah.
And I kind of understood, right, how, you know, to Franzi's point, right? Let's be honest, and I even see it now, right, with the business I'm building. My my tech is great, right? The problem I'm solving is necessary. But
Mm,
at the end of the day, nobody asks me questions. Like no one asked me questions about, well, you know, tell me about the sustainability, right? Like that's not the decision maker is the money maker in business. And
yeah.
I think the thing that I understood in the second year in this like moment was like, oh, got it. Okay, if I make the business model work, if I make
Mm,
money work, then as a systems designer, then I get to figure out how to make it more sustainable, how to use this leverage point to change maybe something that I don't like that's happening in other like I learned how to, I think in a summary, in the second year, I had this moment where I realized that everything I had learned, I could use to do the thing that I actually wanted to do, which was to use my skills to transform legacy industries, like those old, dusty places that have been operating the same way since like Henry Ford built the Model T, right? And we just keep
yeah.
it the same way because that's how we've always done it, right? That was that magic moment when I saw the finance and the business model, right? And the
Yeah.
operations that it all come together. And you realize that you start with the business case, right?
Yeah.
I can save you money. I can make this more efficient. I can make this faster. I can save you time, right? That number on the balance sheet for that company, the moment that I go in and I show them that I can turn a waste liability into a scalable revenue stream, right? Like
You're game over.
game
Yeah.
over, right? Game
Uh,
over. There's nothing else that has to be said. And
yeah.
that particular alignment and like that click into place happened for me probably right before like the finals of the third semester. So like,
Wow.
and so I got to spend like the last semester of the program, like really like putting it all
Yeah.
together.
Yeah. Love that. I mean, here we are. It's like, yeah, and both of you said something very similar. You became multilingual, like polyglots, right? Which is, you know, these languages backwards and forwards. In fact, you're now fluent in multiple languages, and
Mhm.
not just like, you know, Franzi with German and English, but actually business, but who are the stakeholders in business, right? Whether they're creatives, whether they're actually business
And
people,
what do they need?
what do they need, but
They
also
all need
earth and the systems underneath, and you could just speak those languages based on what they need. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the coolest thing, right? Like, I think, you know, and I certainly can't speak for everyone like that's joined this call, like for informational sessions, but the thing that I see out of all of the students that I think, you know, that I knew when I was going through the program and now, you know, teaching, is that there's all something about the world that we want to see differently,
Yeah.
right? Something about ourselves, but there's also something that we want to change. And like, what a profound, you know, skill that I can have, that I can actually go out and I can like move the world in the way that I want to see it, because I do have this fluency.
Right. It's great. And we asked that question even in our admissions process, like what's one big thing you'd want to redesign in the world? So yeah, that's part of it. And you get a chance to do that. Thank you. Jaclyn, same question. You know, what was it, a singular moment that flipped a switch for you, a series of twinkly lights along the way? What was it?
I like the metaphor of twinkly lights, just envisioning that. But
I came up with that this morning, by the way, as I was sort of refining the questions. Like, oh yeah, there's not always a light bulb. Sometimes they're little lights. Yeah.
yeah, well, I think first, just talking about the fluency across these languages,
Yeah.
I think coming out of the DMBA, you're kind of a chameleon and you can work end
Mhm.
to end. And that's been a real superpower where I can talk initial product, and then I can talk adoption, I can talk go to market, pricing, engineering, like tech, like you can do it all, and you have the confidence because you can kind of speak that language and understand at a deeper level. So that's been really beneficial. I think for me, one of the aha moments was really being clear around the riskiest assumption. And I think it's in your book, the Jenga framework,
Uh-huh.
where you can
Yeah.
imagine a Jenga stack and you're
Mhm.
pulling that bottom one out and the whole tower falls. And especially when I'm building this like 0 to 1 technology, it's okay, like we're putting all of, our bets in this, place. Like what's the biggest bet? What's the riskiest assumption here that we really need to interrogate before it all comes falling down? And one of the aha moments from the DMBA, I was working with a client because we get to work with real businesses, and we were consulting, and they were trying to bring an anti-chlorine shampoo to market to combat swimmers' hair. Turned out, once we started researching, that swimmers have this badge of honor with their hair.
The
And
green hair.
so, like, this whole business was based on something that the customer didn't even, want. And it turned out like the parents became like a parent segment became the customer rather than like swimmers as a whole, because parents care about, their children's hair. And so that really stuck with me over time and has been continued to be like a very important reference point as I develop new things. And I see Franzi's nodding. Yeah, it's so that's been a real aha. And it also brings difference. Like I can tell when I'm working with teams that what I bring is this kind of clarity on the problem we're trying to solve, what it is and what it is not. And that's really important with the space that I'm in, where you could boil the ocean, but it's really hard to make progress. So if you're able to really kind of hone in on what you want to solve, who you're solving for, the jobs to be done, if you will, you can really make progress and find product market fit.
Yeah. What I think is really also interesting in there is there's this idea of creativity and creative thinking, but also going into it without all the knowledge. You went into it and the client came to you. So yeah, you mentioned Jaclyn. I think Joe mentioned the same. Like we work with real clients in the DMBA who really have real problems, and we try to solve those real problems uh, as consultants in many respects. And when we're not doing that, we're building real businesses as well. So in that, Jaclyn, you went into this mode where you were also uncertain, I guess, about what the results might look like. All you had was going in was the client telling you what they were trying to do. And of course, now we go into a world that's even more uncertain than it was before. Entropy totally exists. We keep getting more uncertain and more uncertain and more uncertain. So all that said, a follow-up question to you, Jaclyn, how has uncertainty and or creative thinking, how has it sort of shaped your career since the DMBA?
Yeah, I think creative thinking and being comfortable with ambiguity and leaning into uncertainty has been a critical skill set when you're working in generative AI. We're like pioneering a new space. I helped launch some of the first generative AI products at Adobe. There wasn't a market there, right? Like it was a few different products. It's not like there's precedent. So you really have to lean on grounding it in what you're hearing from customers, what you believe the problems are that you're trying to solve, and being comfortable with making assertions through, research and grounding it with data, but like best guess, and then kind of different approaches. But with the DMBA, we did a lot of like launch and learn and prototype. And so really being comfortable with this idea that it doesn't need to be perfect necessarily. You can get something out, beta it, iterate it, things like that. But then there's this other aspect of creative thinking where I'm working in a really large organization for a fairly established tech company, but I'm working almost as a startup within. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
that requires its own set of kind of creative problem solving. And how do you navigate through the organizations at the speed that you need to navigate when the processes are built for, different speed, different cadence, different type of technology.
Yeah, yeah, it makes total sense. So now not only are you a polyglot and multilingual, but also you're using different frameworks and creativity to solve problems, even in a place that is, bureaucratic with guardrails and and different political positions, I suppose, internal ones anyways.
Mhm.
Yeah. Super interesting. How about, I'm just going to go on my screen right to left now. Franzi, same question. I mean, you work in a creative agency, so I'm not going to ask you the creativity question, but how is uncertainty, how does it drive what you do today, and how has it sort of helped you to shape your career to date with creatives?
I would say I might answer the question anyway. So creative
Creative,
thinking,
yeah, yeah, of course, because
honestly,
creative.
creative thinking has become the entire career, and I did
Yeah.
not see that being a career going into the DMBA. So I would say the uncertainty piece is where we all can lean into. Uh,
Mm,
Anybody that says they have the answers of where the future is gonna go is making it up. Nobody has any clue on what the answers might be. There might be hints and clues along the way, but really what we need is people that are brave to lean into these things and try to unpack, understand as much as you can about the today, and have a clear vision of where a future can go, and then design the way along, which is really leading through the uncertainty. And in our reality, in our job today, in my business, just from if I looked at my calendar, it's 6 p.m. over here in Germany. So if I just reflect on the day and the meetings I had, I started my morning with a meeting with the Olympics, and I jumped over to an insurance company and then a mustard company, and now I'm preparing for working with the wonderful startup Mothership Materials tomorrow. So
yeah.
we're jumping from topic to topic, and all of these projects have uncertainty in them where there might be a strong point of view on where a vision could be, but how we get there, nobody knows. And
Mm,
that is really the business and my job to figure out, okay, what are the best bets we can place at each moment in time to get us there in the most elegant, the most efficient, the most
right.
beneficial for the world way. So that
And
Yeah.
really is the career.
that resonates with me because like that's what I love. That's what kind of the roles I'm drawn to. And I don't know if you can speak to that as well, but like it's, building that future is it's just so exciting and so interesting and like engages the brain.
Right.
For
Yeah.
sure. And the superpower really is the navigating whatever challenge you're in and helping even others navigate through
Mm.
any of the mess that people are in. So really diving in and not being afraid of change and afraid of uncertainty, really leaning in and mapping out the options. Even your own career path can be options, and
Mhm.
not being afraid of that and leaning in is really the entire story.
Right. Yeah. I mean, what resonates with that, and I'm glad you jumped in there too, Jaclyn. What that resonates with me totally, not only because I love working with people and helping to guide and shape, but also, yeah, I mean, Franzi, yes, I agree. No one knows what the future holds. None of us do either. but we can design it, right? And it doesn't mean that what we design in the first version, the second version, the third version, fourth version, doesn't mean that any of them will work the way we thought they would work. And dot, 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 right? We can do something about that. We can design something there, and we can design within the frameworks that we have, and sometimes we can break those frameworks and design outside. Yeah. Joe, same question, right? How has uncertainty shaped your career since the DMBA and even now with Mothership Materials, this kick-ass startup?
Yeah. So I think for me, it is about confidence. I think there's no user manual, right, for operating or navigating business in sort of the current like economic or social or political environment. And I'm doing it in a space that doesn't actually exist. I like made it up. The space that we operate is sort of brand new, and the thing that we're doing really hasn't been done before at scale. And that doesn't scare me. I think the really interesting thing, and I think honestly, one of the reasons why we have been so successful so fast is because I have absolute confidence that I can take on whatever comes. Doesn't matter that I don't know what it is. Doesn't matter that I haven't solved it before. Doesn't matter that I have absolutely no idea how I'm going to get there. I have confidence that I can navigate it because I have the framework and I have understanding and I have the grounding in the things that I need to help me figure it out. And that particular muscle, that muscle of confidence, right? Well, I didn't wake up with that, right? That is like, you have to get your reps in, right? And I think like anybody that faces like, you got to do it and you got to do it again and you got to do it again. And that muscle was developed in the program, right? That confidence muscle in the face of uncertainty, right? It's like a super safe space. We try, we fail, we take risks, we ask dumb questions. We work with people that we click with, we work with people that we don't, we learn how to navigate, and we have confidence, and how to move people and teams in the direction things need to go. And I think honestly, like if I were to take everything I do and the way that I see the world and like to distill it down into one superpower, it is the confidence in navigating whatever. But because I have that foundational skill set. And I will say, like, so Franzi and I have sort of alluded to the fact that we're working together. And the backstory here is that in September, my company is launching something that has never been done before. It is a brand new product and a brand new product category.
Got it.
That currently like has not been solved. Like it is a profound, like urgent and unmet user need with an actual physical product that does not yet exist. And when I realized that that's what we were doing, Franzi was the only person that I emailed. And it wasn't because I knew she would make it gorgeous. I knew that she would get it. I knew she would understand. I knew that she would understand how to translate it. And I knew that it wouldn't just be a pretty design. I knew that it would be an actual strategic communication tool for the thing that we needed to bring into this world to help people understand what we were doing. And like there was nobody else that I would trust to do that, is because I know that she speaks that language and she also has that confidence to navigate it.
Yeah, here.
And just to quickly add, this makes me jump because once in a while there's these DMBA emails that come through, like from Justin, for this conversation, or things to work together, or just a question like, I'm here in my career, I don't know how to navigate this. Anybody have an idea? And then we all jump and help each other. Because we all get it and we have a shared language. And doesn't matter if the Olympics are calling, I'm clearing my calendar to work with DMBAers because I know when it comes out of the DMBA, it has a lot of the qualifiers of a good project already pre-sourced because it's human-centered. It is trying to do something good for the world and not harming it. There's people that understand that a business is not run by just one stream, but all of them working together, and that you're not the expert at all of them. You need experts in other things. So that makes a good project. So I just needed to quickly add that in the DMBA collaboration manner.
Yeah. Even within Adobe, I find myself working on things with fellow DMBAers because we are gravitating toward the same types of, interest in solving problems and just skill set and strengths in navigating the systems and working horizontally and bringing new things to life. And even we were running like a customer facilitation, like workshop. I had prepared some frameworks and a fellow DMBAer walked into the room and knew it was a DMBA.
Yeah,
Kind
so
of,
funny.
she was like, "This looks familiar." And so you
Uh-huh.
really do have this shared language, but those frameworks, like, it's not just in school, right? It's into your career that it just becomes so instrumental to help you ground and understand customer needs and be able to shape, these new ventures.
Yeah,
Will
amazing. Yeah,
say, like, even in Venture Studio, right? When we like the very last class that students take, and you basically you get an idea, right? And within the course of a semester, right, you turn it into an actual, you know, business, something that has all the dimensions you use every class. And I think this idea of navigating the uncertainty of that, right, and having the confidence to sort of start with an idea and stand up in front of a panel, right, of judges in a room full of people, sort of in this, as this like last final presentation, right, I think is also like a really nice, a really nice, what is the word I'm looking for? Like,
moment.
maybe we'll use moment, but and it's something that it shows that like you continue to develop it after the program, but you get it when you were there, right?
Right.
And you see it like in every student and every team that stands up and like presents like their venture capstone, like they know what they're talking about. They recognize
Yeah.
that they are like the world expert. They know this material better than anyone else in the world, and it's like the coolest thing.
It is the coolest thing. It's like the 10,000 hours, but right there in front
Like,
of you. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
TED Talk. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I agree. I would love to open it up now for, I'm looking at the clock. We have 13 minutes left. Does anyone here outside of the four panelists, three panelists and this guy, anyone have questions of the panelists? Someone must have a question. If not, that's okay too.
Hi, Angel Nikki here. I just first off, I want to say just even this panel was so inspirational. I had the joy of going on campus the other day, taking the tour.
Nice.
And so it's really infectious in the best possible way. So nice to meet all of you and thank you for sharing. And then my question is just, how does anyone know how the low residency program will work? Because I hear that it's going to be new. So none of you have had experience with that, right? And then
No.
okay,
Oh,
so
no,
it's brand new, right?
No, it's not. It's not new. No,
Oh, it's not new?
it's
Okay.
it's always been low
it's
residency.
the best.
It's the
Okay.
best. Yeah, for 18 years. Yeah.
The best.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the best because everyone converges with all this energy, and you're exhausted when it's done. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I had to like nap on Monday, like all day, but
Sure.
maybe I was just tired. No, actually I didn't. I had to go back to work because I worked full time when I was doing it. But you come in, everyone has all this energy, all these ideas are flying around, everything's happening, and then everybody breaks. And then you're just like working like ace, like with your team, like in different teams, then you kind of come back together and do it again. And I think in many ways it mimics how we end up working in the real world too, right? It's like, you kind of have these sprints, right, within your own teams, like wherever you happen to be. But I thought it was fantastic because
Yeah,
it
it's
also
like,
allowed me, I mean, I had to work full time when I was doing the program, and it was what allowed me to balance both things.
Okay, I
yeah,
have to work full time as well. And so that was a big major question. Thank you so much.
yeah. And that's I think probably half of us that go through this program, Angel, um, half of us that go through this work full time or almost full time, and this program really allows for that. It is a lot of work. Like Joe, I worked full time, and while many of my cohort peers would go home and like on a Monday and be like collapse, right? Because it's low residency for everyone is 5 residencies a semester, which is a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, generally once a month, right? Where you come together and each class is 8 to 9 hours and is like taught like a workshop. So instead of a lecture, read, come away, and now you have to do stuff. You do stuff in class like a workshop, and you do it. Then the next class is the next day, and the next class is the next day, and so forth. Which means after 4 days of basically 30 to 40 hours of workshops on a Monday, you're like, you're done. So it does mean it's a lot of work for those who are working full time, where okay, Monday you just go straight back to work and you do the same thing at work. but it's totally worth it. And, you know, and it's totally doable for whatever 18 months, you know, almost 2 years that you're doing the DMBA. Yeah, and it's fun because you get to bring things right from DMBA land right into work and use them right there.
Yeah. It also makes you an expert at virtual calls because
Oh yeah,
you're
yeah.
constantly meeting with your distributed teams, and like gives you a head start working virtually, you know, in your roles after the DMBA.
Little known fact, the DMBA was one of the first beta customers for Zoom. When Zoom came out in 2013 or whatever it was, we were the first beta customers for Zoom. Zoom wasn't even a full product yet, and that's because we're a hybrid. You know, we do this hybrid thing. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And then also with the 4 days in a row, you're basically doing a presentation every day. So
yeah,
that also becomes like second nature, where you're just like, I have a presentation, I can roll with it. I know how to put the story together. I know I'm comfortable with standing up in front of the
Mhm.
class and like giving that presentation. And that really then translates nicely into your day-to-day once you graduate.
yeah,
Oh, Jaclyn, how to tell a business story on the fly.
Mhm.
I'm going to take it back. That actually might be my superpower.
sure, sure.
Yeah.
Like just how to put it together, how to sequence it for people, like how to
Yeah.
like read the room and like know where you need to click. Like it does not, like I have been in every room. Like I was just in Switzerland for 2 weeks and I was standing in front of like the executives at the world's largest corporations. No sweat, no nerves. I was like, what do you need? Like, let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you did 80, right? We all did about 80 presentations, if not a few more in the DMBA. So it's like, yeah, it's no problem. Um, Other questions?
I have a question.
Go for it, Brittany.
Some of you have sort of answered this, but you know, you were applying to the program, you had a vision of where you'd be when it was over. And now you're doing what you're doing X amount of years later. How does what you're doing now differ from the vision you had, you know, why you wanted to go to this school and what you thought you'd get out of it?
I mean, my why is the same, but the execution of what I'm doing is so much cooler than I ever could have imagined for myself. Like I would have never, like what I'm doing is far beyond what I ever thought I was capable of doing.
I would add, going into the DMBA, I did not know what my role would be coming out of it. I knew that it was not what I had before, and that's what I was certain about. And I worked 3 full-time freelance jobs at the same time just to survive and get through the program as well. While exploring every opportunity that was thrown at me, and prototyping along the way on where I felt the most comfortable and where I felt my skills were used the best. And then I landed into starting my own venture as well. So I would keep the doors a little bit open as well on where the path leads you, because it might be different than what you expect today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was similar. I wanted just to move away from what I was doing, and I wanted to translate my skills more into the tech space. That's the level that I had and for my vision. It wasn't very detailed. But I ended up, my first job out of the DMBA was leveraging my architectural deep industry knowledge, working at a company that had, architecture software. And initially I was like, I want to get away from architecture. Let's move on, like clean break. But it actually ended up being one of like the smartest ways to go about pivoting, because I was able to leverage kind of my special sauce, if you will. And that gave me a lot of not only confidence, but kind of respect when I started at that company, where they're like, oh, she knows what she's talking about. She understands the workflow. She understands the software. And it gave me, again, more ability to like work end to end, understanding like how the product should work. And I started working on more like innovative pieces of it. So like the web app, the mobile app. And then I started working in partnerships. And because I had, taken legal classes, I was like looking at the contracts and the marketing, agreements, and just throw it. Like I hadn't done that before, but okay, like I'll do it. So it's really just keeping an open mind. And then as I look back on it, it's almost like a land and expand approach, where land your first job, then expand it, incrementally in the direction you want. And you'll learn as you go, like what you want to be doing next, what excites you, what interests you. So it's very much a journey. And I've heard the metaphor, it's more of like a climbing gym than a ladder. And that's been true for me. Like I've kept an open mind where I might not always be going up. I might be going to the side, slightly down, then up. And so just really having a leap of faith and finding what I'm passionate about. And then also with the program, you get what you put into it. And so I was really focused on, nerding out on all things. And so I was very dedicated, and I think I've extracted a lot from the program, and leverage it day to day. I joined like the Toyota Mobility Challenge. I helped found the Women in Leadership program, like really put in my all. And I now still have really strong connections with folks from my cohort and the kind of skills that I've leaned on. I was recently in Portugal, and one of my classmates lives there. And so we were able to connect and catch up. And so it really speaks to like the long-term relationships that you build, even if it's a maybe smaller scale MBA program.
Yep.
Just a super quick add-on to this. I believe the most inspiring thing about the DMBA is the people that you're working with, and working so tightly with your peers and your cohorts. And they're as diverse as their career paths before and after the program. So I think there's not a singular answer to that. I think really everybody took it in different directions. And the more people you ask, the more answers you will get. So feel free if you have more questions around that. I'm happily going deeper into that, Brittany, as well.
Yeah, it sounds to me like the takeaway is you come out super dynamic, and not only are you feeling dynamic because you feel like you have all these brand new skills, but also that you're perceived that way in the workplace. Is that accurate?
I see some head nods. Yes. Yeah, and you feel super confident, I think, is the other thing. You feel confident in your skills and your knowledge and your ability to create change for yourself and for whoever else. Go for it.
Everybody, I have to jump. I've got to go grab a train. But it was so nice to see your faces if I saw them. If you have any questions, I'm on LinkedIn, or email Justin or email me or whatever. Happy to answer them. And I'll maybe see some of you soon. Okay.
Cool. Thanks,
Bye.
Joe. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
So we've got just another couple minutes here, and I will share the LinkedIn links for everyone, for Franzi, Jaclyn, and Joe, and myself. Any last question? I think we have time for maybe one more.
I just had a very, very quick question. So I've just begun my career now. I will finish my first year of employment now in the next month, and I'm planning to join the course next year. So again, the insights, whatever you guys have told me, it was great. It was like an eye opener for me. So thanks a lot for taking out the time. But again, are there any points that I should, keep in mind before I join the program, or, just things that I should look out for and keep an open mind so that I just make the most of it in the program?
Go for it.
I would say don't be intimidated by the peers and the faculty that you will run into that are experts in their certain fields, and they might bring in our cohort, the oldest person was 56 and brought an entire 4 careers into the program, and I was the youngest at that time as well. Don't be intimidated by that. Be a sponge, soak up everything. They need you as much as you need them. So bring in that fresh perspective and question the status quo with the reality that we're facing in our generation. So bring in the big questions and don't be afraid.
I mentioned, I would actually second that. I think I mentioned I was humbled going in, right? I was mid-career, so I was turned 40 during my time in the DMBA, and the first day I was humbled was by the youngest person, who wasn't Franzi. We were different cohorts, but ended up being a great friend of mine. But she was a creative, and she just humbled me, and I was like, oh, similar to what Franzi's saying, I need her. I need her in my life in the same way that I need, anyone else with awesome knowledge in my life. I just need them because we're there, we have to work together in some way. So there you go. Bring it, Treya. That's the message. Okay, everyone, we are at time. I really appreciate everyone being here, and especially Franzi and Jaclyn and Joe, who's already gone. I've recorded this. I will send out the recording, and I'll send out a quick little email with our with our LinkedIn profiles and so forth. You're always welcome to connect with us and ask questions. And thank you again for being here. Bye, all. Have a great rest of your day and evening.
Bye.
Thank you for organizing,
you.
Justin.
Of
Yeah.
course. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank you.
all.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.